Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central Virginia fishing report with Ethan Martin from TaleTellers Fly Shop. How are you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
I'm just trying to stay out of trouble. Word on the street is the cicadas are gone.
Yeah, in our neck of the woods, I know I've talked to some people that said they're still kind of sporadic in other parts of Virginia, but in our neck of the woods, they're pretty much that 17-year cicada is over. So, which is expected. I learned a hard lesson, and I know a couple guys down there, and so gave them a call, and they told me they could still hear them, and so Matt Miles and I drove down there, and we were fishing a good bit, and and we were listening around. Really, as soon as we got out of the car, and we could hear them. We could hear like two different cicadas. That was it. So it's pretty much over. And then the other hard lesson learned there was we kind of had assumed that the fish had been feeding on those things in 5 weeks. So we figured that they would still be feeding on them even if cicadas weren't active. And a fun new fact is the fact that they do not. I guess they get tired of them. So
Yeah.
we still caught fish, but it was not the day we were anticipating. It wasn't what it was like 3 weeks ago. So we got 17 more years, and then we can go at it again.
There you go. Well, I applaud your optimism.
Yeah, I try.
So speaking of, I mean, it seems like just kind of watching all the people that I watch kind of on social media in Central and Southwestern Virginia, looks like the smallmouth bite is really turning on. What are you seeing?
Yeah, that's the same thing here. Smallmouth bite was really picking up before we got downpoured on, and then now everything's kind of going back down. So. To normal levels. Main thing is just going to be water's still a little bit murky, but the bite's been really good this year. I've been pleased the different times I've been out, and then the reports I've been hearing from people, same thing. And topwater stuff has been working, depending on the conditions. And bait fish bite's been really good, which I like that. That's stripping streamers and getting fish to chase them down and eat them up. So it's been good.
Yeah, and in terms of kind of picking between that topwater bite and the streamer action, I'm assuming, right, when the water's up and it's a little bit murkier, it's a little bit harder to get them to take on top?
Yeah, that's been what I've found because, and of course, there's always instances where you can still try it because a lot of times the bigger smallmouth seem to move better in this murky water. And if you're in the right spot, you can catch a big one on a popper. Most of the time for me personally, it's just a confidence thing. I like using the streamers when it's murky like that. But that's just a confidence thing. It doesn't mean that you're not going to catch a big fish on the top.
Yeah, and I guess the water, even when the water's up, is usually going to be softer and clear on the edges where you'd be throwing the poppers anyway.
Yeah, and then, some of the poppers that we throw, like the chuck craft style or the ones that actually have cork in them, they hit the water so hard that fish is going to sense it when that thing hits down. So they will still come up for it, but I wouldn't throw like an itsy bitsy popper unless you're trying to catch bluegill.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, looking at your weather over the next, I don't know, week to 10 days, because we're recording this on the 24th, looks like you're going to kind of have, seasonable temperatures with kind of thunderstorms mixed in, but hopefully it'll kind of allow the fisheries to let the water kind of continue to drop and kind of clear out. Is that what you expect?
Yeah, and it should be really good. The upcoming, if you look at the 10-day forecast, I mean, our trout fishing has been phenomenal in the small streams, and because the water's nice and cold from the cold spot that we just had, and with this huge shot of water, should make smallmouth fishing really start to pick up too. Because funny enough, some of the bass seem to still be in like a post-spawn or like we saw fish the other day that were still guarding nests, or at least thinking that they were, so, which is super late. But it's definitely the next 2 weeks are going to be a prime time for early summer fishing. So if somebody can get out, that is the time to do it, because it's not going to be stupid hot and the fishing should be good and you're going to have good enough water to float really well. So I would take advantage.
Yeah, good advice. And got a question from Matthew for you about kind of where should you be fishing this time of the season to target the trophy smallmouth?
If it's me, like if I had one spot on the river, of course, fish can be anywhere. But if I had one spot on the river, the places that I like are those big, deep pools that are behind riffles. That's where I found most of the bigger fish. And so like what it looks like is basically you've got your section of riffles where you'll have a lot of fish in them, good numbers, but the size might not always be there. And then a lot of times behind those, you'll have this pretty sizable pool. And that's where I've caught the biggest fish of the year. And it has been, about this time of year that we catch pretty big ones. And when the water's up as well, and kind of that off-colored hue, that's a good time to go there. And then the other thing, when the water is up as high as it is, sometimes those big fish, especially once the sun hits it, they'll go deep. So in order to catch those bigger fish, you've got the same area, but rather than throwing, a popper, you're throwing something that's going to get down deep when the sun's on it. So the answer is obviously going to be shifting as the day continues, and if it's an overcast day, or if you've got 1,000 CFS, or if you've got 4,000 CFS. But that area behind the pools, or the big, calmer, slower water behind those riffles that are kind of churning up food and then sending it down the conveyor belt, that's going to be the places that I would focus on.
Got it. And you mentioned a little bit earlier that the trout fishing is still good because it's been kind of unseasonably cool and you've had a decent amount of rain. I'm assuming the game is to go high, fish dry droppers and maybe terrestrials. Am I right there?
Yeah. I fish pretty much terrestrials this time of year. Beetles, I mean, you can still throw a parachute at them and you're going to catch fish, but personally, I get a little bit lazy with it, and I'll throw bigger beetle patterns, or pattern I like a lot, which is the 409, just because you can see it really easy and it floats the dropper really well. So that's what I end up using a lot when I go up there. And then just like you said, go up high, fish the pools, and just watch out for snakes. I mean, I always say that as it depends on where you go, but there can be certain streams that are more snaky than others. And especially when you're out boulder hopping from one rock to the next rock, your potential to run across a snake increases as everything gets warmer. But the streams are doing great, so it's a good time to be fishing.
Absolutely, and that's good snake advice. You got to always kind of remember those game trails down to the water is basically where all of our legless friends are going to sit, hoping for an easy meal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's funny is you never hear people talk about that in terms of like in books or anything like that. But there've been a couple of times where I see a snake or with somebody, and that person sees a snake, and it's like, you just keep going on with your day. Just don't jump over logs, and then just make sure that when you do jump over logs or step over them, that you're paying attention to what's below them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the cardinal rule there, right, is don't put your hands and feet where you can't see what's on the other side, and make a little bit of noise, and it all works out. Folks, we love questions. Matthew, thanks for reaching out to us on Instagram. If you have a question for us on the Articulate Fly, if you'll send it to us, any of our social media channels are fine. We usually get them on the Facebook page. If you'll send them to us there, if we use your question, I'll send you some Articulate Fly swag, and you'll get into a drawing for some cool stuff from the shop at the end of the season. Ethan, before I let you hop, why don't you let folks know that everything's open, all your good normal hours are, and where to find you?
Yeah, so Virginia's in phase 3 now, as of July 1st. So we are open full hours, and you can also find the majority, pretty much all of the products that we sell in the store, you can find online as well, which is TaleTellersVA.com. And if you have a question about a product, again, pretty much everything in the shop is stuff that myself or people that work for the shop actually use on a regular basis. So if you've got a question, you can shoot it our way, and I'd love to help any way I can.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, folks, it's a really great time to get out and fish, probably now until right around the 4th of July or so. So do yourself a favor, get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ethan.
Tight lines.